Dr. Omar Abdel-Mannan, a British-Egyptian pediatric neurologist, founder of Gaza Medic Voices. And by the way, on social media, if you search for Gaza Medic Voices, you'll hear what they're saying in the enclave itself. Dr. Omar has worked and taught in Gaza over the past 10 years. Thanks so much for coming back to us. You and I spoke a couple of weeks ago. I was just wondering, Doctor, when was the last time you were in touch with former colleagues in Gaza? What are they telling you?
Thank you so much for having me on the program again. So as you mentioned, I've been in contact and our team has been in contact with doctors on the ground on a daily basis. Yesterday afternoon, I was in touch with Dr. Ibrahim Matar, who is a resident in one of the hospitals there. The communication is very difficult. It is often sporadic, and we are often receiving voice notes or pictures or images from the doctors rather than direct communication. What they have been stressing, which is something that I think really needs to be highlighted within the media, is the fact that there are at least 14, and in some other sources 20, healthcare workers, including doctors, surgeons, dentists, paramedics, who have been taken hostage and have been kidnapped by the Israeli Defense Force. These medics, some of them were taken from at the time when they were escorting patients from the north to the south. And others were abducted from within the Al-Shifa hospital on the grounds that they have been accused of having been involved with Hamas in some way, shape or form. I know many of these doctors personally, including the director of the Al-Shifa hospital, and I, for one, and all of my colleagues who know them can vouch that there was no political or other connection to Hamas in any way, shape or form. So this is essentially illegal detainment of healthcare workers, which is completely unacceptable. And frankly, we have been seeing the systematic targeting of healthcare facilities in Gaza since day one of this escalation. Since Al-Ahli hospital got bombed, since Al-Shifa hospital got got attacked, and now we are seeing, instead of bombs falling down and raining hellfire on Gazans, we are seeing doctors and healthcare workers being detained. What kind of humanitarian pause is this? This, for me, amounts to something that is completely unacceptable. These are people trying to do their job, trying to save lives, and yet they are being attacked, and they are being attacked in so many different ways. On top of that, and what really disturbs me, and this is an image that I assume TRT has shown and many other networks have shown, Al-Nasr Hospital, Children's Hospital, yesterday was entered by journalists and the media, and there were pictures and images and videos captured of the deceased bodies, the decomposing bodies of at least 5 children and babies who were on the intensive care or neonatal unit, who had been abandoned and left because the doctors had to flee because they were forced at gunpoint to evacuate without taking these patients. And these children, as a pediatrician first and as a father second, I am absolutely appalled to see these pictures. These are children that essentially died alone with no family, no one around them, and they've been left to rot on their hospital beds. And when I see this, my question to the Western leaders, my question to the Israeli government, my question to the Arab leaders is, how much longer can we wait, and how much more of our humanity is going to be lost before we actually ask for and demand for an urgent and permanent ceasefire and an urgent and immediate solution to this ongoing problem? Because the people of Gaza and the people of Palestine deserve much better from us.
One of the best ways possibly to make the world understand even better what's happening in Gaza is through testimony from people like you and your colleagues who are working in Gaza right now. Can you help us to paint a picture of how these healthcare professionals are able, in the current circumstances, able to provide care for their patients? And you will have heard this interview yourself, because I believe he was a doctor who came back to London just about a week ago. And he gave an interview in which he said, I had to go to a local shop to buy some washing up liquid, which we use to wash our dishes. And I used that liquid to clean the wound of a child. And inside that wound, maggots were growing.
Absolutely. This is Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta, I believe you are referring to, and I have been in constant communication with him since he's come back on a daily basis. I haven't been asking him for his testimony because I know he is delivering that, to the media, and it is very difficult for him to talk about this every time, because as he says, the way we've been trained as doctors in the UK and across the world, and medics in general, and nurses and healthcare professionals, is that we have ownership of our patients. We treat our patients like they're our own family. We look after our patients day in, day out, from the time they are admitted to the time they are discharged, and even after that. And that ownership is a crucial part of the Hippocratic Oath of the way that we practice medicine. These doctors feel that towards their patients, and that is what is keeping them going. Many of them, and Dr. Ibrahim Matar, who I mentioned, is a clear example. Someone I spoke to and I asked him, how are you coping with this? And he said, I'm not. I break down every 3 days. I have moments where I have to cry. I have to break down, but I have to get myself back up and running, because otherwise my patients will suffer and will die, and they need to be looked after. So these doctors are not only providing medical care, but they're providing emotional support. There are children, we've seen the videos of children being pulled out from under the rubble who are orphaned, who are wounded children with no surviving family, WCNSF. And these children need these doctors and nurses to act as their parents and guardians and safeguarding people. And that is the reality. It is an absolutely horrific scene and absolutely horrific circumstances that they have to deal with. In response to that, as healthcare workers here, we've basically decided to stand in solidarity with them every Friday across the world. We've had vigils since the 14th of November. We're approaching our 4th vigil tomorrow evening in London, in 18 UK cities, and in 15 international cities across 5 continents. We hope to get Turkey involved as well, but we have many neighboring countries, many Western countries, where doctors and nurses have said enough is enough, and they stand united with one message, which is a message from the Gazan doctors. The same message is, we don't want food, we don't want water, we don't want aid, we actually just want a ceasefire. Of course, they need all of these above, but what they are trying to say and convey is that a permanent and lasting solution to this is the only way to actually move forward. And the continual warmongering and clear precedent previously from the Israeli Defense Force, and frankly from Hamas as well, of trying to push for further hostilities is unacceptable. Every side needs to come to the table and decide that enough is enough, and human life is actually sacred, because we have seen the dehumanization of Palestinians for the past 75 years, to the extent that when we see these babies decomposed on hospital beds, somehow the West does not stand up and say, why is this happening, in the same way that they did for Ukrainian children. And my question is it because they don't have blonde hair and blue eyes? Is it because they have, Arab names? Is it because they are seen as the children of Hamas terrorists? What is the reason that this is happening? This is unacceptable. These are human beings, just as worthy of life as you or me or any other human being on this planet. And that is our message as a healthcare community.
To our viewers, don't forget, Gaza Medic Voices is what you need to look for on social media, and you'll find lots of first-hand testimony of healthcare workers working in Gaza, thanks to the founder of those social media platforms, who is our guest, Dr. Omar Abdel-Mannan. Thank you so much indeed. Really appreciate it.